The Writer's Stage, Introduction to Unit 4, the Age of Mature Adulthood. The fifth age Jaques describes as the age of the judge. The judge represents the age of mature adulthood, the years from around 50 to 65. In our mature adulthood, we begin to judge how well we've spent our lives. If we've attended to the lessons life has afforded us, then we earn the right to some authority. Shakespeare's judge is portrayed with eyes severe and with a certain formality, because he's expected to settle disputes and decide the fate of others. The judge understands human weakness, but he also understands the law and human responsibility. Holding all to a higher rule of law and order, the judge's eyes may seem severe, especially to those he rules against. The judge has experienced life enough to understand conflicts, both in terms of particular details and general principles. And he understands that there's always more than one side to any given story. The judge rules, therefore, on the merits of the case. The detailed observations of childhood, the impetuous behavior of the emotional adolescent, and the energized civic-mindedness of the young soldier, the young adult, all culminate in the age of mature adulthood. The judge has the wisdom to recognize an authority greater than his own. In this unit, we're going to address some of the issues of authority, especially as they relate to composition. This age reminds us that what we say should stand careful scrutiny. We must consider matters of authority. What establishes our own authority? How do we recognize the authority of others? You can see then that we're working towards sounding more authoritative in our own writing, while at the same time choosing sources wisely to supplement our knowledge. We're inserting research, because we cannot be an authority in all matters. So mature people know their limitations. They recognize the relative importance of things, and they're cautious when listening to others. Perhaps most of all, mature people evaluate their experiences honestly, always conscious of their own prejudices, which will be particularly important in this next assignment, the research essay. And the concept of research fits nicely into this age. For your research essay, you'll be asked not to merely report information, but to analyze it as well, to gather and weigh evidence, just like a judge would do in a courtroom. In your last essay, I asked that you look at your own community, and I asked that you define community in a fairly narrow way. This time we're going to open our eyes and broaden our scope, and we're going to look at the larger world around us. This is your assignment. You are to analyze a specific social, economic, or political problem of a country from the list provided in the syllabus. The list is also in the Essay 4 assignment folder on Angel. Do not merely choose a country. Choose one from the choices I've provided for you. In the essay, you must describe a specific problem of the country that you've selected, give a brief history of that problem, and discuss what's likely to happen with that problem in the next few months or even few years. Because of the nature of the assignment, I ask that you keep the majority of your sources very current, within the last 2 years. In fact, I chose countries which are struggling with social, economic, or political problems currently. You will be providing a history of the problem, and that may require going back a few more years. But the focus will not be on history. That will be a small section of your essay, so make sure that you only have one source that would go longer than 2 years old. The focus needs to be on the current situation. Also, there may be overlap in the problem. It may not be clearly a social problem, or clearly an economic problem, or clearly a political problem. And it's fine to recognize the complexity and overlap, but try to maintain a focus on one over the other. In the next few lessons, I'm going to carry you through the research process. We've talked a lot so far about the writing process, and we've gone through each stage. There are additional steps when you consider adding research to an essay. In Lesson 15, we'll go through some of the sources available at the JCCC library, and I'll walk you through them, and also discuss how to go about discerning what's a quality source and what is not. Lesson 16, I'll talk about note-taking and making sure that you have good, solid information from those sources. There, we'll talk about the difference, again, between paraphrasing and direct quotation and how to make good choices. Lesson 17, we'll talk about creating a works cited page with annotated bibliography included. That is basically a works cited page where you describe each source first and then tell me why you're using the source or how useful that source is to you. We'll go into more detail on that in Lesson 17. It's probably something you've never done before, but it is something that is absolutely essential for college-level academic writing. So it's a great way also to make sure that the sources that you've chosen are acceptable to me and that they're appropriate for your topic. Finally, we'll discuss in the last few lessons of the unit the outlining process, drafting, and revising. For now, I'd like you to read the essay assignment sheet located in the Essay 4 folder. Do some initial casual research. Pull up, actually what I would do is probably take the country name and put it in a Google search bar and add the New York Times or the Washington Post or the BBC. So for example, if the list included India, which I don't think it does, but if it did, you could put in the Google search bar India New York Times or India BBC. See what's being written about the country. Generally, if you put those terms into the Google search bar, the first hit that you're going to get will be a profile page or a timeline, which sort of gives an overview of the country's current struggles. Read a little bit about them, choose a social, political, or economic issue to focus on. Whatever you do, whatever sources you watch, please make sure that you write down all the source information because you may end up using this initial research in your actual research essay. In order to do that, if you are looking at an online newspaper or magazine, you'll look in Easy Writer on page 232, Easy Writer 232, and you're looking at number 37, an article in an online newspaper or magazine, and they will give you the formatting for a works cited entry. So read up, make some decisions, and then we'll give you more information about how to choose other sources.